I grew up in Kankakee County, Illinois, and when I was young, I was the quiet kid, and then once I got into music, I started rebelling and causing a ruckus.
For the afterlife to arrive, sacrifice to you. Won't say what my hands can.
My biological mom gave me 3 cassette tapes when I was younger. Poison, Open Up and Say Ah, Bon Jovi's New Jersey, and Bob Seger, I think Greatest Hits or something. And that was my introduction to rock and roll, and I played those tapes till they wore out. I wasn't allowed to pick up a guitar until I was 15, 16 years old, and it wasn't mine. I was picking up my friends' guitars. I think I had a buddy that let me borrow a Strat copy for 6 months, and I tried to change the strings and didn't know what I was doing and jacked it all up, and I was like, man, I think I broke it. I wasn't able to get my own guitar until I was like 19, and I basically put my foot down with my grandfather and said, I know you don't want me to be a part of music as a career or play the guitar. I think he just found the loud noise to be annoying, but it was what I was really passionate about. So I said, look, old man, I'm gonna do this whether or not you want me to do it or not. My grandmother loaned me $1,000. I ordered my first guitar, which was an Ibanez 7-string, and I had to hide it from my grandfather for like 2.5 months. And then he finally realized I had that guitar and like a 2x12 crate, like not really hiding in my room, it was in plain sight, but he never went in there. So he caught me riffing one day and kind of looked at me and goes, you'll never be a guitarist. Turn that fucking shit down. That was the defining moment for me to become a guitarist. What he said to me was very hurtful, but at the same time, it lit that internal fire to want to do this and prove him wrong and prove the whole world wrong, that I'm capable of doing something with my life while having a disability. Growing up with a disability by itself is hard. Having been born with cerebral palsy and kind of going through the stages of discovery of how it affects me and how it affects my body and how to deal with it on a personal level is one thing. And then you have to learn how to deal with it on a social level and deal with how everybody else around you in your environment deals with it. Because at a very young age, I accepted it. Like, this is who I am. This is just how life is for me. But as I got older, I realized my environment around me wasn't so accepting. And I quickly became the outcasted individual in grade school, and I was kicked and pushed and bullied and put in the lockers and tripped in the hallways. And, I had a really rough time just finding my place. And then fast forward to picking up the instrument and playing guitar, a whole nother set of challenges, realizing that my left hand, which is a lot of guitarists will say that your fret hand is your most important asset. My fret hand doesn't work very well. I had no individual mobility in my fingers. When one would move, they all would move, still kind of like that. And I never used my left hand for anything. Growing up, people would yell at me and go, use your left hand. God gave you a left hand, use it. I would just hold it to my side. And it wasn't until I got into playing music that I found a purpose to use it. But then I realized it didn't work very well. So that began the whole process of using the instrument to rehabilitate my hand and ultimately rehabilitating my life. It took about a very difficult 2.5 to 3 years to really sit with the instrument and be able to do like 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger kind of movements. And I realized that I could use drop tunings. And once I figured out I could use like drop tunings, like drop C, where I play most of our stuff in, that just kind of opened up the floodgates. Because then I realized I can look at the fretboard vertically and go, oh, well, I can play a chord anywhere on the fretboard as long as I'm holding down a consecutive like 3 notes. So that allowed me to move into songwriting and my knowledge of Pro Tools and arrangement, and that's when the floodgates opened, the light bulbs turned on, and my career with the instrument really took shape. The early years in LA, it was a joke. To a lot of people it was a joke, and they didn't understand it. They didn't see me having a future in it, and it almost was like a novelty. I realized that because of my condition and my certain set of parameters with my left hand, I wasn't going to be able to go out and join somebody else's project, especially in metal, because metal music is fast and heavy and intricate. I almost gave up, and I went and saw my favorite band, Korn, and I met up with Monkey backstage, and I gave him my second guitar that I'd gotten ever. It was an Ibanez Universe Steve Vai, the black and green one, the original one, but Steve had signed it for me. And I gave it to Monkey, and I said, hey man, we've been friends for a long time, and I'm having a really hard time with music, and I don't really see a future in it. I can't find a band, I can't find musicians that want to take my condition seriously. I'm really thinking about just giving up. And I gave him the guitar, and he told me, he goes, you need to do it yourself. Start your own band and build a band around what you're capable of. I've been a fan of Korn since I was, I think I heard their first record when I was 11, and it completely changed my life. I heard the opening sequence to Blind, and I was like, who is that? I need that in my life. Especially heavy music became my emotional therapy for my disability, and guitar became a physical therapy for that. Obviously, I have a meeting with Monkey, and I told myself, all right, I'm gonna give it one more shot. I went home and started taking things more seriously, trying to put stuff together in Pro Tools, and it just so happened shortly after that I had to have surgery on my foot, so I was laid up again. So all I did was sit in front of my computer with my guitar and my Pro Tools rig, and I wrote the first core batch of songs from our first EP, Return to Chaos. After I recovered, I said, well, I got this batch of songs, let me see if I can put a band together. We debuted the band here in Illinois. We did 2 shows in my hometown, Bradley, Illinois. It was so much of a success, and I just brought in players that I jammed with in high school, and I said, hey, I got this batch of songs, do these shows with me, just as a test run to see if it would work. and it went over pretty well. A couple hundred people showed up each time. So I went back to California and started really assembling the band. And it's like Megadeth, man. I think we have 36 members that have been a part of this project, and you know, it goes back to what we were saying about the trial and error of people, musicians, taking me seriously. I have guys come in and they jam with me, and we write some songs, or we play a couple shows. They would want to do something outside of the box that was outside of my capabilities, or they would try and like take the project over from me and kind of shift the focus and the main thing and make it their own thing. So a bunch of trial and error. Finally, we came to the lineup that we have now in 2014, and these guys are dedicated to the cause, really solid musicians, and totally on board with what we're doing and where we're going as far as promoting our message of raising disability awareness and just trying to go out there and do something positive. The first artist to jump on board with the album was obviously James "Monkey" Schaefer from Korn, and how that came to be was we have a documentary film coming out about my life in 2018 called Mind Over Matter. It's directed by Sebastian Paquette, and we asked Monkey to be a part of the film, and we thought it was just going to be like an in-studio jam session, and Monkey came back to us and said, hey, no, I want to do a song. Let's go in the studio and let's write a song together. And then Danny Lohner from 9 Inch Nails was a friend of our manager's, and he was in our circle of friends. We would always see each other at like industry UFC fight night parties in Los Angeles. And I knew Danny for like 3 years. I don't even think he knew that I had a band. And then when the album was getting close to being finished, I had enough balls to say, hey, Danny, I've got this band, I've got this record, this is what we're about. Would you like to be a part of it in some capacity? And he was like, hell yeah, for sure. You know, it was kind of like one of those no-brainer collaborations kind of thing. The two bands that inspired me the most were Korn and 9 Inch Nails, but 9 Inch Nails was the first heavy band I ever heard. The Downward Spiral, I heard it and I was like, whoa. And I was obsessed with them. And then I heard that Korn record, and I was like, it just changed my life. If you want to do something in life, nobody's going to hand it to you. You've got to go out there and you've got to pound the pavement and really go for it. But you'll never fail at it unless you give up. Just keep going. I think that's the secret to musical success and life success, is just to keep moving forward, keep going. You're gonna hit roadblocks and people that tell you no 1,000,000 times a day, but eventually somebody's gonna say yes.